Whew. It's coming along pretty nice. Look at all that. A little bit at a time. It's hot out today. It's early though, so it's not too brutal. Look at that strip. This is the beauty stripe on the top of the Donate lifeboat coming off. This is going to be replaced with one of two things. I've got the green striping, but the more I think about how I really want the boat to look, I get closer and closer leaning to wanting to paint it Mojito green, the white. And then I would stripe it in blue. Very pretty blue, a light blue. Sorry, I'm stepping on all this sticky stuff. I'm dancing around. Of course, it's more money, but you know, a gallon of paint would cover this boat. And it, you know, even at $200 a gallon, that's not terrible for a brand new paint job on a boat. So I've put a couple emails out to some companies asking if they can make Mojito green color match paint and what it's going to cost. So we'll see what I hear back. It sure would look amazing. So the bottom is anti-fouling black. The white would all be Mojito green, and then you would have a beauty stripe along the top. You know, it could be that beautiful light blue. It could be red. Red might be really nice looking. It could be black, and then a gold pinstripe. That's what was down here. There was a blue water line, and then under that, just barely, was a gold pinstripe. Usually gold's at the top. So that'll be something else we consider as well, is the bottom waterline stripe. So I don't know. I'm just going to clean it up. I'm going to try and get all the stickiness off with some goof off. Maybe do another real light sanding with some fine grit sandpaper. I've got to do a little bit of fairing and get these gouges have got to go. And I can fill those in. I've got compound to fix these. This one, of course, has really got to get fixed. That's down into the fiberglass, as is that. There's a couple places on the hull that need to be re-glassed a little bit, or at least put some compound in them. And then on the port side, that's a big deep gouge. These are deep enough that they won't sand out. They'll need to be filled in. Just want to get it as good looking as I can. You know, I'm not a total perfectionist, but I just want it to look real nice. I mean, if you're going to do something right, do it right the first time. So that's what I'm up to today. Peeling paint, cleaning, maybe some sanding, and if I have time, I'm going to try and roll on the bottom paint, which is the black. I've got the rudders painted, and I painted some of the bow. I'm not loving how it's coming out right here at the water line. It's a little chunky, a little rough. So I think I'm going to hit that with a sander all the way down. See right here, it's got just a little bit of texture to it. And if I take the blade and hit it, you can feel it catch. You know, the smoother this baby can be, the faster she'll go in the water. And you wouldn't think that those little checks and little abrasions and rough parts add up, but they really do. If you really slick your hull out, you can gain a half a knot in power and speed. So, you know, the keel, it really needs to be roughed up and sanded. That's going to be difficult to get to. I think what I can do is take those sideboards off, those supports. They're not holding anything. They're literally just kind of there. That'll allow me to climb under the trailer and work. And then the side supports here, believe it or not, you can take this back one down completely, paint, let it dry, put it back, and then do the other side. It's the front ones that you really can't move. They are holding the bulk of the weight alongside with the keel. It's really sitting on the keel. But so the back weight is on the keel, the front weight is on those front supports. The back supports, I really need to adjust. This boat is not sitting correctly on the trailer at all. It's crooked. And I think it's actually leaning a little bit. If you look at it from back here in the garage, that boat is not sitting on the trailer correctly. It's leaning down on the right, and the whole ass end is kind of over this way. That drain hole right behind the rudder should be pointing straight, and it's not. The whole boat's canted on this trailer, which worries me a little bit. And it's because when the seller loaded this boat, he did it in a sling with a boom from the air onto the ground, onto the trailer. And with one person, it's nearly impossible to do it correctly. You can't possibly get the thing perfectly square on the trailer by yourself. You need about 3 people to help you do that, to be pushing and pulling and get it just right where it needs to be. And then again, when I pulled it up with the winch and the Jeep, I may have I may have tweaked how it was positioned when I did that. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll give you an update here in a little bit. I'm just down to the last couple of feet. So goof off for the win. I got the sticker off fairly easy with the razor blade, and then it left, of course, the adhesive behind. Who knows how long this stripe had been here, if it was original or not. I suspect it probably was. Getting down below the sticker, you can really see the sheen. I think you can probably see that. That's original gel coat. Real shiny and pretty. We're dull down here because I've sanded it. And I think I'm going to sand it again with like a 200 grit. That'll bring some of that sheen back, close some of those pores up. It just needed it so badly. It was so horribly filthy and scraped and scratched and had funk on it. We'll get there. We'll get her looking real sharp again. So today I sent off an email asking for sponsorship with a company that might, I'm hoping, will make my stripes. Here's my idea. Green stripe, mojito color, and then on the front of the bow, real big, about 5 feet, maybe even back to the chain plates. Heartbeat rhythm, EKG. I think that's going to be sick. And then the round logo here, about 14 inches, Donate Lifeboat. So I proposed it to my buddy who I've worked with over the years with the CBD business. He's done an enormous amount of work for us. He printed all of our labels for our products. He printed all of our educational materials over about 7 years. He's a super guy. I don't want to mention his business without really approval. He's on vacation currently, but he'll hopefully get back to me mid-July and see if he'll sponsor me. You know, I asked him to say, hey, will you create this stuff for me with your printing business and do what it costs or free for a little sponsorship. Sorry that the monthly tornado sirens are going off. The check. There is no active tornado. So that's exciting. Asking for my first sponsorship. Yeah, I've got 2,200 plus followers on the Facebook Donate Life Heart Transplant mentorship page. That's quite a broad reach. And then I've got the Facebook page Donate Lifeboat and the Donate Lifeboat YouTube channel, both of which I have yet to really launch. You're welcome to go find them, follow them, like and subscribe. You'll see this content there. And yeah, this is 100% about awareness of how important organ donation is, how important further research for the transplant community is, and that includes, medical technology, drug technology. I'm on immune suppressants for the rest of my life, and these are really harsh drugs. I mean, they do some terrible things to people over the lifetime of being on the drugs. So, if I can use this boat like I do the Jeep and start conversations about that stuff, I've done my job. I've gotten awareness out there for people to think about it in their daily lives. It's something I think about every single day of my life, because it was so huge for me. I'm wearing the shirt right now, so I don't mean to get emotional, but it's a big fucking deal. And there's thousands of people going through this every day, all around the world, and people just need to talk about it. All right, I'm sorry I cut you off quick there. Just got a little emotional. It happens. I never expect it to happen. When I start talking about some of the stuff from transplant, it just starts coming out of me. So sorry about that. That's the reality of it. There's a lot of pain down inside. A lot of gratitude for sure, but certainly some trauma from all of it. And it's not just the surgical, it's not just the meds, it's the constant procedures, it's the life change, it's losing yourself and having to refine yourself. It's getting used to the new person that you are and kind of coming to terms with the person you were prior. They moved on. You're not that person anymore. And anybody that says that they're the same person they were before transplant, they're lying to themselves, because it's huge. And it's years and years of unpacking trauma and realizations and epiphanies and new normals and new discoveries and what's the next roadblock, what's the next barrier or hurdle. And that's what makes me emotional, is the constant, never-ending battle, essentially. So let's take a look at her. I got all the boogers off her. So the goof off worked wonderfully on the adhesive, and then razor bladed it and got all the gum off, hit it with the wool and got the rest of the residue off. And sure enough, that's original gel coat. It's real slick and pretty. You can tell the sun hasn't faded it because it's been covered, where it's a lot whiter down here. Whiter, not whiter. Looks really good. So I think I'm going to get out my fiberglass repair kit. I'm going to take care of some of this stuff, these gouges, and then see how that sets up. And then I think we'll take some sandpaper to it. And of course we'll have to fair the hull where I put repair epoxy. And I want to sand that bottom a little bit. I want to rough it up. There's quite a bit of texture to it. Like here, pretty smooth. But you get up here, and this is pretty rough. And anything we can get really kind of slicked out. See, I painted here, and this is real slick. but down here it's a little rough. And that's old bottom paint that's come off and it's alligatored a little bit. I'd like that to be as slick as possible. It'll just do better. Just look at this spot here. Real slick. Really good there. So if we can get it all like that, I think we'll be in real good shape. She will cruise through the water effortlessly. All right, I'm gonna take a little water break and hydrate and move on to the next step. Here's my epoxy. It's just a little bit. And we gotta mix her up for 2 minutes. Make sure she's totally combined. It's a resin and a hardener. Chemical process makes them hard as fiberglass. So now I'm gonna go over here and we're gonna paste it into that crack. That's scrape. Unfortunately, I don't have anything to hold my phone while I do that. So you're just gonna have to picture what I'm doing and then I'll show you the final product. Okay, let's take a look at my handiwork. Can you see where the scratches and the gouges were? Okay, I guess you can. It's quite a contrast because this stuff is actually going to dry shiny compared to where I've sanded. But yeah, I filled in all these little micro scratches. This was a deep gouge. This was a really deep gouge. And this has to dry for 24 hours and we'll come back and we'll hit it with sandpaper. Probably a nice light, like 100, 150. And then I'll probably sand the entire hull with 200 and get it prepped for stickers. We'll go down here and do about an 80 on the bottom, roughing it up, knocking off a lot of the rough material. That'll make a nice scratchy surface for the new bottom paint to adhere. Let's go look at the other. So I worked on the nose quite a bit, the bow. There were quite a bit of big chips and chunks so that it's a little more rough, but it'll dry and I'll sand it nice and smooth. This was a pretty good one. This was the really bad one that was down in beyond the gel coat into the fiberglass. And it went on like a charm. I mean, just smooth. Sand that out, sand this spot out. A couple of little scratches in here we got. And that's it. Back here, nothing really. This is all smooth. This is an old repair here. Old repair. These are old repairs. Probably different attachment points for other equipment. Maybe a different ladder. That's my ladder. The rudder is really in great shape. It didn't need any really spots filled. I mean, here's a little chip I could do, but I'm not real worried about it. That's above the water line. And she's gonna look good. God, the more work I do on the hull, the more I really kind of want to paint it. But if we're gonna do the green stripe, red stripe thing, you know, maybe I just paint it white and get a really nice gel coat finish on it. That might be kind of spectacular. I don't know. You know, I go back and forth about every day of what I want to do with it. So that's what's going on now. Now I think I'm actually going to get some sandpaper going, and I'm going to work on the hull, the bottom side, and kill some time doing that. I'd like to just paint over it, but after applying a few coats on the bow and on the rudder, which looks fantastic, and the rudder, it was down to fiberglass. There was nothing left. There was no paint left on that thing. So it took the paint like a champ, and I'll throw another coat on that. And, you know, I'd probably get away with doing the back end here, which is real smooth, really good shape. But up here where it's really checked and rough, I think I'm going to have to take some of that material off. So let's get busy doing that. That'd be cool. Anti-fouling paint is really nasty stuff. You don't ever want to breathe it. It can make you horribly sick. So I am covering up my respiratory system. All right, so we had a brief moment of scare. Ow, goddamn my back. Sorry. As I was sanding on the bottom of the boat with the sander, and I had the respirator on, and I'm looking at my hands, and I'm watching the sander, and this stuff is flying off, and it is just the finest particulate that could possibly be. It's almost just like talc, like powder. My hands completely black. My arms totally black. I could feel my eyelids were starting to get irritated. They were starting to burn. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, my face is probably black as well. That's why I decided to just drop the sander and let's get inside and get this stuff off of my skin. And about that point, I could start to taste metal in my mouth. And it may just have been because I removed the respirator once and I wore it into the house, took it off in the house, and I'm rinsing my arms off and I'm dumping huge amounts of soap, gobs of soap, and I'm scrubbing my arms and my hands. And I start tasting metal in my mouth, and that's when I start to get a little scared. Strip down completely, get in the shower, top to bottom, soap, scrubbing, getting the stuff off of me. And I got clean. My hands, even, my fingernails are clean. I scrub them. There's a little bit of my finger there, you can see, and my thumb. And that's just because I went and touched the respirator a minute ago. I was looking at it. That's about the time I decide I'm going to call poison control and make sure I haven't unintentionally poisoned myself with copper sulfate in that paint. That paint contains, metals. And I'm a little worried. I feel good. I feel fine. My respiratory system, fine. No coughing, wheezing, or anything. Because I had a really good respirator on, which is strong enough to filter out fumes, even paint fumes and stuff. So particulate certainly is going to be stopped. And I looked at the front side of the filter; it's black, and the back side, the inside of the filter, is pure white. I'm texting Susan. I'm on the phone with Poison Control. He's got me on hold. He's looking up, doing some research on ablative paints and anti-fouling paints and that contain metals. And he comes back and he says, we think you're fine. Limited 15, 20 minute exposure to the skin only. You were wearing a respirator and you immediately got it off your skin. He says, we're not concerned. You don't have any breathing issues. The taste in your mouth should subside, and it's likely just contact from when you took off your shirt, and getting some of that particulate into the air and breathing. He says, if you start to feel ill at all, go to the ER. But he says, as it stands now, we think you're fine, and don't do it again. So that was a little scary. And I'd heard stories watching Spirit It Animal on YouTube, which is a sailing channel. Rav, when he's working on his boat, doing these ablative paints and stuff and painting the bottom of Spirit Animal, he talks about a guy that actually died using these materials and doing what I was doing. He's a boat and breathed this stuff in, and got super, super sick and ended up killing him. So those thoughts are running through my head, and I'm like, oh my God, if I poison myself. So no more standing on the boat without total, complete coverage protection, which I'm not going to do because it's hot as hell out. So maybe a little bit of wet sanding. We could use a hose that's just trickling and a little bit of sandpaper by hand, or maybe a sanding block instead of a machine, and just take off the loose material on the top. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. The sander was certainly doing a fantastic job, really getting it smoothed down and knocked down. There's a lot of paint up there that is, kind of popped out, kind of like pock marks, where just little chips have kind of come away. And so when you run your hand over it, it's rough. I'd like it to be as smooth as possible. I'm just going to do what I can to smooth it out. And it's brutally uncomfortable under the boat in the structure of the trailer. My body was contorted. That's why my back is now hurting again. It's been hurting for a week. It started with me sanding the boat, I think, by hand, the hull, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. threw my whole right side into spasm. And I fought it all weekend through the 4th of July. And today I felt pretty okay, but not better, certainly by any means, but better enough to do work. And now it's screaming at me again, which sucks. But chronic pain's a bitch. So I think I'm done for the day. I think what I'll do is I'm going to get dressed. I'm going to go out. I'm going to wash the boat down with water. And if I'm Mickey, I'm in the middle of doing a video, bro. Cat is so disrespectful. I'm going to suds the boat. I'm going to wash the boat down top to bottom. Well, the hull and underside. I'm just going to get soapy water. We're going to suds it up and rinse it off. And I may leave it just at that. I may not sand anymore. I may just paint it and forget about it. Slap on a couple of really good thick coats and call it good. So that's where we are. It was an interesting day so far, don't you think? All right, we're doing a little sanding. I've wet sand the back of the hull here, and it looks awesome. It's super smooth. It looks really good. The 200 grit paper really smoothed her down. Took a lot of that kind of heavy scratching out from the heavier grit paper that I'd used. And now I'm using some 100 grit down here where we put that epoxy material and filled in these scratches here. And I'm just kind of knocking down the high spots with the 100 grit. I've been doing it wet. This stuff needs to be hit dry. It's hard as a rock. See this stuff here. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I just got to knock it down, and then we can go back over it with 200 grit and smooth it out. The bottom looks awesome where I sanded it. I mean, it looks... I've soap washed and sprayed down the boat. And where I sanded looks fantastic. It's going to paint really well. I mean, there's only a few spots that kind of concern me. And that's the keel. See the pock marks? Those are rough if you touch them. But, you know, I just don't think I'm going to worry about it a whole lot. It's not a lot. I mean, the bottom of the keel is smooth. And I got a lot of the big chunkies that I wanted off. Ow. Oh, my back is killing me. I move funny, and it's just like, it's like somebody yanks a string on my muscle. Sanding's not going to help it any, but if I don't do this, it's never, ever going to get done. So, you know, you got to pay to play. That's what's going on. Okay, let's look at it. Oh, I'm tired. She's dusty right now. I just finished. I hit it electrically with 100 grit and then 200 grit. And she's real close to perfect. She looks smooth as a baby's ass. I mean, there's a couple of gouges that I could fill, and and I'm wrestling with it because I like perfection. There's my gorgeous wife. There's a little piece of perfection. She probably didn't even see me over here. Oh, I think she did. That really big, deep gouge was here. Can't even feel it. It's gone. So now after sanding and fairing the hull and resanding, I think I want to paint it. I mean, it's essentially prepped for paint. I just have to wash it, prep it, and then paint it. I know, this may be getting redundant. Last look, for the moment anyway. She's been washed and she's wet. Look at the glistening, shiny hull. I mean, she looks pretty. She ain't perfect, and you know what? That's fine. She's a 1985, and there's a lot about her that ain't perfect, but she's mine, and I'm gonna make her as pretty as I can make her. But man, she's 100% better than when I got her. She was a wreck. She'd been banged into everything. No offense if you're watching, previous owner, who will remain unnamed. I know you hit a lot of things. You even told me you hit a lot of things. But she looks magnificent right now. I really think I'm going to paint it. Even if it's just white. Or maybe blue. There's a really nice, I mean, gorgeous, light kind of robin's egg blue with that green, mojito green stripe at the top. That might look really damn good. So I'm going to discuss it with my better half. God, I love this boat. She's just magnificent. Well, Susan came home, we did a walk around, and I started kind of cleaning up, and I just couldn't let it go. So I ferreted out the remaining scratches. I mixed up some more epoxy, and I filled all the little micro scratches now, because it was going to bug me. Of course it was, you know. If you know me, you know it was going to bug me. So everything's been refared, which means more sanding again. But at that point, the hull, it's going to be perfect. And it's going to be smooth as a baby's ass. And it's going to be gorgeous. I proclaimed this evening to Susan that I'm painting the hull. And she's like, oh, really? So that's gonna happen. It needs it, even if it's white. Mojito would be kick-ass. I'm sure it's gonna be wildly more expensive to get a custom paint made from Total Boat, but I will communicate with them and see what we can come up with. It'd be amazing. It'd be spectacular if we could paint this boat Mojito and then do a blue stripe. And then up on the first, like 4 feet of the bow, do the cardiac wave of the heart in red. And then the round Donate Lifeboat insignia, the logo, in 14 inches. It would look sick. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. That's the direction I want to move. She's going to be a bad bitch. She's going to look so good on the water. People are going to turn their heads and be like, whoa, whose boat is that? And that's exactly what I want. I want them to come over and be like, wow, that boat's kick-ass. Tell me about it. And I can tell them my story. I can tell them about the importance of organ donation and donate life. And that's the point. Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Donate Lifeboat. Lots going on. To keep updated, please go hit the like and subscribe button. Your participation is greatly appreciated, and it helps me to get more followers. So like and subscribe, please.